Hi, my name is Cheryl Williams, and I am going to give a brief overview of the initiative and referendum policies or program in the state of Arizona. Today we're going to look at their processes. These two processes are what allow citizens to directly participate in the legislative process there in Arizona. To define it, an initiative allows voters to propose new laws and amend existing laws. The initiative can either be a state statute or a constitutional amendment. And to get an initiative on a ballot for a vote, proponents must gather a required number of signatures from registered voters. The number of signatures needed is based on the percentage of votes cast in the last gubernatorial election. So they do have quite a grid that shows the number of votes required to get an initiative on the ballot. The Arizona State Legislature may place a measure on the ballot as legislatively referred constitutional amendments or legislatively referred state statutes, so they can put it either way. In addition, the Arizona Commission of Salaries for Elective State Officers is one of the few state committees that have the power to put a measure on the ballot. So once a petition with an initiative is proposed, it has to be approved to go on the ballot through an approved committee. Arizona Constitution contains a single subject rule for citizen initiative ballot measures, which was enacted in 2022 via Proposition 129. So they make the citizens separate their initiatives, making them single subject. The Arizona Constitution also contains a single vote requirement provision that requires that multiple amendments must be voted as separate questions. So if citizens are proposing several initiatives, each of those has to be voted on separately. They're required to designate a funding source. If the mandate that they are proposing requires state expenditure, then they have to also designate where those funds will come from. For a referendum, definition of that, it enables voters to approve or reject laws that are passed by the legislator. So this is not something that the citizens are proposing. This is something that they want to either approve of or reject. So that's what a referendum is. If citizens disagree with the law, they can gather signatures to place the law on the ballot for a public vote. The required number of signatures is also based on a percentage of votes cast in the last gubernatorial election. Referendums, however, may not repeal laws immediately necessary for the preservation of public peace, health, and safety, or for the support of maintenance in the departments of the state government or state institutions. So we have to keep the government running. In 2022, the Arizona Supreme Court ruled that support and maintenance included tax increases and decreases, with the exception of taxes to fund new departments. So veto referendums cannot be used on emergency legislation. The Arizona Constitution provides that in an event that two measures conflict, the measure with the most yes votes supersedes the other on any points of conflict. However, the other measure is not wholly superseded, so they do compromise. Arizona requires a 60% vote to pass ballot measures to approve taxes, and voters approve this requirement via Proposition 132 in the year 2022. So Arizona requires a simple majority for other ballot measures, a simple majority. Once the official canvass of votes is complete, the governor of Arizona immediately issues a proclamation declaring successful measures to be made into law. The Arizona State Legislature may not repeal a successful initiative or referendum without voter approval. Lawmakers can amend the law, but only if the amendment furthers the purposes of the measure and passes with a 3/4 supermajority. Both processes involve submitting an application to the Arizona Secretary of State, gathering the necessary signatures, and meeting specific deadlines to get the ballot on the next vote or election. And how do they support direct democracy? These two things. Initiatives and referendums are key tools to direct democracy in Arizona, empowering citizens to have direct say in their government. And here's how they support direct democracy. Initiatives are citizen-led legislation. Initiatives allow citizens to propose new laws or amendments to existing laws without needing legislative approval. the means that if enough voters support the idea, it can be put on the ballot for a public vote. Public participation by gathering signatures and campaigning for their initiatives, citizens engage in the political process, raising awareness and fostering public debate on important issues. So the citizen in the initiative is very active in getting legislation passed through, not going through their legislature, but actually appealing to the citizen. Referendums have veto power. Referendums give citizens the power to approve or reject laws passed by the legislature. So if voters disagree with the law, they can gather signatures to place it on the ballot for a public vote. Very powerful means of the citizen taking charge and holding public officials accountable for what they do. Legislative accountability. This process ensures that the legislature remains accountable to the public as laws can be challenged, potentially overturned by the voter, and that gives the voter a very big voice in this whole election process and public process. Overall, these processes enhance democratic participation, allowing citizens to directly influence legislation and hold their government officials accountable. Hopefully you've enjoyed my summary of these two facets of the Arizona Constitution and the way that they handle their political processes there, giving the people a voice in the legislative process. Thank you.